Hey friends, and welcome to Mom Talk Maryland. I'm your host, Claire Duarte, founder of the Columbia Mom, and this is your spot for real conversations, local love, and a whole lot of community. Whether you're folding laundry, running errands, or hiding in your car for some peace and quiet, let's dive in. So I'm so excited to have you here, which is like, you know, we'll get into some of the questions here, which is like so funny. So when I get started with the podcast, I'm like, I love an origin story. Like, tell me about your origin story, which we will. We're gonna jump in. But for the record, we have Toni of Me Time Coffee here, and part of our origin story is that we met here.
Yes.
Downstairs. Mm-hmm. And I think it was the Small Business Summit.
Yep.
That's right, which is coming up again, actually. Wow. I'm pretty sure it's annual.
Yeah, because it was March when,
Yeah.
I had just joined Howard County Chamber of Commerce.
That's
and
so
that was
funny.
Like my first event.
Yeah.
But I had been following you. And so when I saw you, I was like, oh my God. You know, you're like, I know her. Not really, but like, I know her.
Oh, you do. I share, I have no boundaries, for better or for worse. But isn't that so funny?
Yes.
I know. So I'm so excited. So we're back obviously at the Maryland Innovation Center. This is like where I record most of my interviews. But tell us a little bit about, I mean, obviously I want to know about you. Yes. We've already been yapping behind the scenes for the record. But obviously I love to get to know, how you got started, why Me Time Coffee, what's the story behind that?
So, you know what's crazy? Like, this is something that I struggled with, which is crazy, right? Your origin story is how you started.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be something you struggle with. But the reason why I struggled with it was because I didn't have just one story, and I was trying to make it like, you see other business owners and you're like, well, everyone has this thing, and sometimes it's traumatic, and I just didn't have that. So sometimes I didn't feel like, well, maybe I don't have an origin story. So it's funny because it's different as to why I started specifically Me Time Coffee, but then also like why I started the business or what made me move forward in the business.
Right. Well, and actually the way you said that, I was talking with a friend kind of similarly, and I think those are kind of two different things, because it's almost like you're putting together the passion, like there's like the desire, the hobby, the interest. You can have that and just go about life, right?
Yes.
But then there's like the decision to make it a business or monetize, etc. Like those to me are two different things. They're often layered on top of each other, of course, but the decision to make them one is, I agree. So anyway, that's just where my brain was going with that.
No, exactly. No, it's so funny. So it's like multifaceted, which is it's crazy, right? Because it's like, how do I bring this about in one story? So for me, the back in the day thing is I had my first cup of coffee when I was 5 years old.
Yeah, girl.
And it was a black cup of coffee. My grandfather drank coffee every morning. And just growing up in the house, like breakfast was a thing. Like we sat down at the table, we ate breakfast, especially like a Sunday breakfast or a Saturday breakfast. My grandmother made like homemade biscuits, like coffee, whatever have you. So I didn't grow up like grabbing cereal and like running out of the door. So
good. That means you were like good.
and we weren't like rich or anything, but we ate food. Like my grandfather's from Mississippi, so like he would go fishing, he would go hunting, things like that. So coffee was always introduced, at least in my household, as something that you sit down and have.
Like a ritual.
It was never like, and again, like my grandfather wasn't taking 3 deep breaths or anything like that. Like he was watching TV, having his coffee, or maybe talking to us and stuff like that. Yeah. But it was always a moment. Yeah. And so, over the course of time, obviously growing up, you start drinking coffee, like for real.
Right.
But then you get caught up in like, the frappuccinos and the macchiatos and all the things. But even over time, I just really never liked milk. I just never liked milky drinks.
That's a whole nother conversation we can have another time.
I do not like milk. I don't like milky drinks. I don't like creamy.
Not, like made for it.
They're actually not. I did a whole bunch of research on that. They're really not.
Right.
Yeah, I don't like creamy. It's just I've never liked those type of drinks. I even have a hard time with a protein shake. I just have to like throw it back because even using water, I just don't like shake things. So, but anyway, so that's like kind of I think where coffee has always been, I don't want to say my saving grace, that's a little melodramatic,
right.
But coffee's always been my hug in a mug, right? It's always been the thing that was like my moment of peace. And for me, just throughout life, I've always been busy. I love being busy. It's never, you know, been like, oh my God, my friends were like, oh my God, you're always doing something. You're always moving. You're always going. But I love it. And it's like, you know, as you keep going through life, as you're, you know, working multiple jobs, like I'm in the military. I just hit 20 years last month.
Oh my gosh,
so,
girl.
It's like you're doing that, doing all the things inside of there, and then still trying to, you know, be with your family and your friends and stuff like that. So over the course of life, things that I love to do was go visit coffee shops. Like that was always my vibe, like visiting a local coffee shop and visiting a museum, no matter if it's inside the country, outside the country, when I travel. So that was always like my piece. But still, is that something I can do every single day due to my job? No, it's not. So it was basically getting into that situation where I came into a period of my life, I think we all have like that health scare that's wait a minute. And for me, it is, I'm one of those, like, it only takes me one time. Like you only have to do it one time. So for me, it was, I had developed like a bald spot, like randomly bald spot, right? And what was crazy about it was it just like appeared, but then it grew back. And so I was like, oh, okay. But then it happened like over and over again. This is, of course, like 3 to 4 years. And so after researching it, I looked it up and it was called like Alopecia Arteria.
Okay, so not like full
blown. But it was the same spot, which is crazy.
Oh, the same spot
same spot.
How big would it get?
Like a quarter. And I mean like skin bald. Like the
like,
table bald. And then it would grow
like,
back.
Not thinning.
Yes. So after I looked it up, it was called stress-induced alopecia. So, and for me, what is crazy was I never felt
Where was
stressed
it? Sorry,
out. It was like in the top of my head. Like it was still covered up. Like you could still cover up my hair. Yeah. So it wasn't like, you know, but still I was kind of like, oh my God. And like,
and then you were more stressed.
I'm like, you know, my hair. Oh, of course, we're women. Like,
especially as a woman.
We love our hair. So, but I started. I was seeing a neurochiropractor anyway, just for competing. I competed in bodybuilding. So like we're just kind of, you know, having some issues. Like why is this one side stronger than the other? But this side, you know, hurts. Blah blah blah. So she was just talking about imbalances and things like that. So I brought it up to her. And what I realized was, in my mind, I wasn't stressed out. Because I deemed stress as someone sitting in a corner, rocking back and forth and cannot function. And my life didn't stop. Like, I was still moving and grooving. I was still going through my day. So I was trying to pinpoint, because I couldn't pinpoint when I noticed the bald spot to, like, what was going on. So after, like, you know, you take your notes and things like that. And what I noticed it was when I had a bunch of stuff going on at the same time, whether it was, like, moving to a new duty station, starting school, because, of course, I go from 0 to 100. It's like, oh, you got orders to move? You should go ahead and do your master's. Oh, you want to compete in bodybuilding too? Oh, are you running half marathons? Because I love being busy. Girl. So it was like pinpointing when that all happened. And going to the spa is great. But it's still not something that you can do every day. And it was kind of like getting back to my roots, right? What could I take? What could I do every day that I was already doing and just make it into a moment? And that's what it had to be about. It was like, okay, I love coffee, and I love coffee. Like, it is always a moment for me. Even if I made my coffee at home, I wouldn't drink it until I got to the office and close my door like, give me a moment, I have to drink my coffee. So coffee was, so it's really just about sitting down and seeing. And I think that that's what that like hair loss was. It was the like call of, hey, I know you love being busy. Hey, that's great. But at the end of the day, it's easy for someone to say, girl, you should slow down. You should take a day off. But like you can't you were like throw your kids somewhere. Like you can't, you know, and I don't have kids, but I have friends with kids. So it's like, it's always easier said than done. And I think as like a high achieving woman, that we thrive on having projects and doing multiple things. So I'm big on psychology, and I just don't think it's a one size fits all when it comes to self-care and what that really means. And taking something off of your plate is great, but we also have to be realistic.
Yeah.
So for me, it was, what was the thing that I could do no matter what that was not going to, you know, disrupt my life, but also give me a moment to pause.
Yeah.
And that's really, I think, my origin story of how Me Time Coffee at least came about, or what made me want to use that as something that could help all women. I've always been passionate about women's health. I used to do, you know, personal training. That was a burnout moment.
Because I could imagine.
Because people don't follow the rules. It's like, you're paying me to tell you these things that I know work, but you're not following the rules.
Right.
So it was, I think that was the thing where during the last few years, you know how you step back and you kind of get back to the things that you really love, and then you remember, like, I remember when I was younger and I wanted to start a coffee shop. So it was like getting back to, oh my goodness, because, you know, we have all these plans when we're, you know, younger and we grow up. We're like, I want to be this, I want to do this, I want to do that. But then, of course, that's mixed in with, you got to go to college. When you go to college, you got to, you know, now you have to find a job. And then when you find a job now, like, so I think that as you get older and life slows down, at least in your head, where you're not still trying to just hit all the wickets, you start going back to you, the you, like what's inside of you. What do you love? What do you want to do with it? And how can you help people with what you could wake up every day and do with no stress? And for me, it was coffee. Like, it was coffee. So that's like the origin behind why coffee. But then there is like, why Me Time Coffee? Why did that start? Things like that. So
oh my goodness, I love that. That is so cool. I mean, you're so right about, like, when we have those moments in our life, whether it's health related or family related or whatever, you know, they do kind of force you to slow down and examine yourself. And when we're doing that self-examining, because we kind of, that forces us to mute the noise and look inward. And sometimes when we're looking inward, that forces us to look back.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it can be a really powerful moment when you're doing all of that.
Yes.
So
it's like refinding your why.
Yes. Yeah. No, I think that's so cool. And so then how long, or when did you officially start Me Time Coffee?
So August 2024, that is when I made the decision to, like, live outside of my head. And for me, it was more so about taking that step back and realizing that you are credentialed, you have all the tools, you don't need another degree, you don't need another book, you don't need another, you know, you don't need another thing to give you more knowledge. You have it. So for me, living outside of my head was stop over planning, stop overthinking, and just act. So that's when I was transitioning from personal training and fitness, and I'm like, man, I still want to help women, but I have to find a way that is going to not stress me out, because I took a break from my, like, fitness, as far as even competing and as far as even training. So October 2024 is, that's when I was like, okay, I'm doing this, I'm gonna do it the right way, I'm gonna just do it. And I filed for my trademark. So Me Time Coffee was not the first name.
Oh, okay.
I was still coming, like, into out of fitness into what the audience that I wanted. So the first name of the business was going to be Fuel Her Coffee. Oh, cool. I had the, like, logo imagined. It was going to be like a woman with a coffee mug with, like, a, you know, a bicep curl.
Oh,
and
love
it was going to be, you know, clean coffee for women on the go, you know, all the things, right? It was going to cater to the fitness community. And I took a step back. What's crazy is the trademark came back where it wasn't used already, but it was like variations of it. So, like, my trademark attorney was like, well, do you want to go forward? And I took a step back and I was like, you know how things just happen as they're supposed to.
Absolutely.
And so I was like, you know what? No, I don't want to push hustle culture. I don't want to push hustle coffee. Like, no, I'm transitioning out of this, and not transitioning out because I'm still in the fitness industry, but I'm like, that's not how I want to push this. Women need something that's simple where they can take time out for themselves every day. Self-care on the weekend is great. Monthly is great. Quarterly is great. Spa days are great. Weekend trips for the girls, they're great. Those are all things, and I'm not knocking any of those things because I love them.
Yeah, that's right.
But why does it have to wait? And why do we have to keep waiting? And that's how I feel. It's like self-care is either a 10-step routine or it's packaged into something that we have to go and do. So as
or I was spend money.
Yes, exactly. So as I was like, you know, going through the motions of like, okay, so if this name, what about this name? And I was like, oh my God, me time. Like, it's our me time.
Yeah.
And so that's literally how Me Time Coffee was born. But to back that up, I read a book by Rachel Rogers called We Should All Be Billionaires. And the it's an amazing, I read the book 3 times.
That sounds amazing, yes.
Part of the book that really hit for me was whatever you want to start now, or whatever you want to say you're starting in 3 to 5 years, what part of it can you start now? And the reason why that was so important was I said when I retire, I want to open up a gym and a coffee shop for women, like all women's gym, all women's coffee shop.
Yeah.
But at that time, it was like 3 years. Like it would have been 3 years until I retired, right? So I was like, well, I like that, because the idea was if you keep saying in 3 years I'm going to do this, life is going to life. And in 3 years, something's going to come up where you're going to say, well, in another 3 years. So you will never start.
No.
And so I'm like, okay, I like this. This is true. And that's when the whole living outside my head thing happened. I'm like, okay, but like how can I start a coffee shop like online? Because I don't know, for whatever reason, I purchased coffee online before, but I just didn't think of like an online coffee shop, right? So I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Kid you not. And that's why living outside your head is matters so much for me, because I believe in the power of the tongue. I believe in what you say will come to fruition. If you say it will happen, especially if you're always walking in your purpose.
Right.
I ended up having a phone call with a guy that I worked with, but he was stationed in California, but we work in the same kind of like unit. We're just spread out. And we had just like met because I had just got to the unit. And as we talked, he was just telling me about all his business ventures. You know, he has real estate. And he told me that he had a coffee company. And I was like, what? He was like, yeah, it's online. And I was like, what? How do you do that? And he explained it to me. We had like a great conversation. We had other conversations. So I had ordered some coffee from him. And he basically went over everything and like how it worked. And then like I started on the search. And from that conversation, when I tell you I got the trademark, I did the LLC, I launched like, I think I filed everything maybe like the end of the summer, September, fall.
Yeah.
I got it back October 18th. I launched November 15th.
Wow.
Is when I launched.
Wow.
And then I taught myself how to make candles 5 weeks after that, because I wanted it to be a full experience. I wanted this to be a self-care focused coffee company.
Yeah.
It's not about grabbing your coffee and running out of the door. And as a busy woman, as a high achieving woman, if that is the only time that we have that we can do it every day, is just spending the first 10 minutes of the morning with something we already are doing, grab your coffee, make it. I want it obviously high quality, because women deserve the best. Like we just deserve the best. So like, how can I make this elevated? Like specialty grade coffee, roasted on demand, so nothing sits on the shelf. So it's like waking up, not early, not even early, just waking up and spending the first 10 minutes, not on your email, not on your phone, not checking your DMs, going over, brewing your coffee, lighting your coffee scented candle. That's why I stick with specializing in coffee scented candles, with the exception of one. I do have a matcha candle. And then just taking a few deep breaths, and we call it our pause, sip, savor method. And it's just taking a few deep breaths just to relax and kind of reconnect with yourself. I think we spend a lot of time learning, thinking, praying, but we don't spend the time not doing. So how can you get those answers that you're looking for if your mind is always planning the next thing?
Oh my gosh.
And so that's what it was about. It was, what was the thing that we already love, that I already love, that we already are doing, and how to make it a full moment. And then you go about your day. And by me doing it, I realized that my day was a lot better. Because when you start your day jumping out of the bed, it's like you never can catch up.
No.
But that 10 minutes made the rest of my day just flow, like not running out of the house. Like we were just talking about that right now. Me coming in, running out of the house.
I know.
Not running out of the house.
Right.
It just makes it better. And we have 10 minutes. I know people like go back and forth with that. We all have the same 24 hours. Like, no, we don't. Yes, we do. We have 10 minutes because normally we are not getting out of the bed. I would love one person to shoot you a message on your podcast and be like, I get out of the bed and just go right to it. We don't get out of the bed.
Right.
I mean, I just joined Burn Boot Camp. I go to Burn Boot Camp at 5 a.m. My alarm clock goes off at 4. At 4:15, I look at it. And then at 4:30, I get up, get dressed, and leave. Because I can't, I'm not one of those people that I don't do well with space in between things because I'll start doing something. That's how busy I love to be.
Yeah.
So if I get up too early and I'm not doing something, even if it's just sitting with myself, I start doing something, which means that I'm going to be late for the thing. And then I would miss the gym.
I've absolutely fallen into that trap too.
Yes. Yeah. So it's like I wake, my alarm clock goes up at 4 just so I can be awake.
Yes.
But then I'll just lay there and then I'm like 4:15. I'm like, then I'm fighting with myself. I don't want to do this. Oh my God, I can't believe I have to get up. This is horrible. Why can't I just have what I want without going to the gym?
Yeah.
And then like 4:30, I'm like, perfect. 4:30 to 4:45, I got to be out of the house by 4:45. 4:45, I'm going to the kitchen, making my little water mix. And then I'm out the door because it takes 7 minutes to get there. Like I love to be on there. So it's like because of that, and it's productive for me. And I think it's productive for a lot of business owners. Sure. But even with that, we still have to take a moment to slow ourselves down. And that moment still has to fit in our schedule. Like, I think that's what the magic of Me Time Coffee is. I'm not asking you to do anything that doesn't fit in your schedule. Right. Which makes it sustainable. So that was the goal. Simple, intentional, and sustainable. Something you could do without thinking.
Perfect. Yeah.
Something that you already love, coffee, right? And eventually we'll branch out into tea as I establish the business more, because of course I love tea too. Yeah. But nothing beats coffee.
That's right. Ain't that the truth? So then tell us, okay, so now we got the origin story, and I love all the little nuggets that you've been sharing.
That only took like the whole hour.
No, exactly. That was the whole point. Okay, so for, our Colombians, our Hoco folk, our Maryland folk, so how does the business work if people are interested in your coffee? Like how, because obviously I've seen you could do events, and I'm sure you do plenty of that too in the area. But for individuals that are looking for their cup of coffee,
yes. So you just go straight to www.metimecoffee.com, and you go right there. You go to shop and purchase your bag. And the beauty of all of our coffee, it is not roasted until it's purchased. So nothing sits on the shelves. I think that, oh my God, we need to have another podcast because I would love to go into the ins and outs of coffee. I just did a series of the miseducation of coffee. And
that's crazy, yeah.
All of our coffee is specialty grade, which means that not only is it ethically sourced, it also means that you don't get any bubble guts. It's no bitter taste, no bubble guts. I think people are so used to coffee just having such a harsh taste, and we drown it out with all those things.
The
I can never let go of fitness. So fitness and health will always be a part of it. And I knew that if I'm going to, my audience is going to be women, it has to be good. And that's the goal. Coffee's so good that you can cut back on the cream and sugar. I tell people, but you're grown, you can do whatever you want.
You're fine. My husband, became lactose intolerant toward the end of college, and which is funny because our little story is that we dated freshman year, broke up, and then got back together after college. So by the time we got back together, and I was like, "You're what? You're lactose? What?
Who are you?"
I was like, "This is odd." Okay, maybe stress-induced for all I know, whatever. But and I remember I didn't get into drinking coffee until after college as well, because #jobs. Yep. And it was mainly more of just the everyone else is doing it, and I guess I should kind of thing. But
it's a vibe. I mean, honestly, coffee culture, it's just a vibe. Coffee shops, meeting up with friends, having a cup of coffee, it really is a vibe.
I know. Well, my husband's Latin, so that we can have a whole. So when you talked about your family sitting down, I was like, don't I know it? I mean, my family is white as heck, so that's a whole different thing. But his family, it's they have coffee 8 times a day, right before bed. I'll be coming up to pick up the kids at 7. She's like, you want coffee? And I'm like, No, but
yes, and that's the
I appreciate
thing.
that for
yes.
you. Yeah.
And that is the thing about coffee. You know, I think that we're used to like the quad shot of espresso mixed with a cup of milk.
Time and place for all of those, trust me.
Yeah, so it's like when we think of like coffee at night, like that's crazy. But it's, oh God, yeah, we have to have a whole nother conversation about
like,
coffee.
It's like
There's so
culture and
much.
coffee and ethnicity with all of that, because that's when I started dating him. I kind of really opened my eyes up to that. Like the movie Encanto when the kids are like drinking coffee.
Yes.
I was again like that's not my lived experience, but like I know that firsthand from his family.
Yes. And I always tell people that I'm like, coffee, it really had never been for me about like, oh my God, I have to drink this coffee because I'm so tired. I don't think that I ever remember saying I have to drink coffee because I'm so tired, but it's always been like, man, I can't wait to have my morning cup of coffee, or I can't wait to have coffee. And honestly, even if I don't have it in the morning, which is very rare, and I have it like in the afternoon, it's still like a like I don't want to drink coffee and just walk around. Like no. Like I love. It's just that experience, and maybe it's the nostalgia of home, but it really is just a beautiful moment just to sit back and have a cup of coffee. And I tell people, like, when you get a quality cup of coffee, I enjoy my coffee how people enjoy their wine or their whiskey.
That's awesome.
Like the notes you taste. I just was talking to a girl on Threads, and she said, you know, when you start drinking black coffee, you realize that there is a difference of quality. And I told her, I said, and I'll do even one better. When you start making like a Chemex or a French press cup of coffee, you will realize that it even elevates the taste just as much. Because a Chemex is like, have you seen a Chemex, right? It's like the light bulb, upside down light bulb looking thing, like a pour over.
Okay. I was like, I have a French press at home.
Yeah, so the Chemex, it does to coffee what a wine aerator does to wine.
That's cool.
It really opens up the notes because it's open brewing. You're pouring everything over. It's slowly dripping down. So, and then because of like Chemex, and I just bought a French press that I'm in love with, but I was very particular because I didn't want any of the plastic to touch the coffee.
Yeah, and especially hot.
Yes, right. And you get that now. Like I haven't used my regular coffee maker. I'm gonna have to find another one because it is when that plastic heats up. Obviously, for all the other health reasons we already know, but when that plastic heats up, it does have a different taste in your coffee. So with that Chemex, it's like, what's so funny? I dropped my Chemex, which is crazy. I dropped my Chemex before on the ground. It was perfectly fine. But how I dropped it this time last week, it hit the cutting board on the thing. It broke it. It's okay. I went right on Amazon. I ordered one. It was right there in my house by the end of the night. Like, I was like, no. But I've just been making my... And people look at it like... I'm going to do a live. Probably it'll be my first, like, YouTube live back. In different brewing methods, because when you look at it...
absolutely should.
Yes, when you look at it, it looks complicated. But honestly... on average, all coffee makers take 3 to 4 minutes. It's just a matter of what fits into that morning me time that day for you. Right. Because with the French press, you put it all in, you can walk away, you come back, you plunge it. Coffee maker, one press button. Chemex.
But you're still waiting even on the button.
Yeah, it's the same amount of minutes. Chemex, on the other hand, you just are pouring it over. But it's still that same 3 to 4 minutes. So it's the same process. It's just... but it's relaxing.
That's cool.
Oh,
and you know what we'll do is I'll have you send me the link to the book and some of obviously we'll link, your website and your products, but like some of these other like kind of add-ons. I think that'll be really cool. And we'll have those in our show notes. Okay, awesome. That people can also check those out because like I want to see what these are. You know what I mean?
Oh my goodness, it's so great. But yeah, like, and that's what Me Time Coffee is all about. Really, it is the simple, sustainable, intentional self-care moment. And then of course, people are like, a self-care focused coffee company, that doesn't make sense. It's just coffee. I'm like, no. It's a moment. Right. So with that, and then our coffee being, I think that's what makes it also elevated too for my audience, because like I said, we deserve the best. So with it being ethically sourced, with it being handpicked, with it being roasted on demand, I think that's the key. The roasted on demand.
That is awesome. Because
that's when you get, a lot of stale coffee, or sometimes you can get mold in coffee. A lot of people don't know coffee beans are not beans. They are seeds from a coffee cherry. So it comes from a fruit. So the same thing. Yeah, that's why I was like, we have to have a whole. Yeah. So the same thing that you, or the same like quality or intent that you would put in sourcing your vegetables.
Yeah.
It works the same way with coffee. So if you've probably, I always say this because I'm like, you've probably seen it, just don't remember.
Right.
If you go to like a local coffee shop and you see pictures on the walls of like guys in the field with like these cherries, and you're like, why is this in a coffee shop? Those are coffee cherries. They're different than regular cherries. And inside those cherries, there's seeds. And those seeds are
the same type of fruit on the outside as like the coffee cherry?
Yeah, so and that's kind of how, that's the origin. So coffee was first found or established in Ethiopia. And the legend is that these goats like had all this energy and they were chewing these cherries. And then humans obviously would, testing them out and trying to figure out like, well, what was this all about? Because there's also a coffee tea. So for people that love the taste of coffee but may not want to actually, I don't know why, not drink coffee and to drink a tea, there's a coffee tea with tea leaves, but it's the coffee cherries are the same thing that you can make tea leaves. So yeah, they're after they're picked, peeled, and the seeds are taken out, they're dried. And then after they're dried, they're roasted just like you would, because you have to dry before, just like a vegetable.
Right.
You don't want to roast a wet vegetable because it's going to be mushy, right?
Yeah.
So it's dried, and then now there's different processes of drying, dried in the sun, all these other things, right?
Yeah.
And then roasted. So that's why your light roast coffee has more caffeine than your dark roast coffee, because like a vegetable, I know people think it's the opposite, because dark roast has a bolder taste.
It does,
but it has less caffeine.
Well, because it's like the greener the vegetable, the more nutrients. You know what I mean?
Yes, but there is a time where, so think about your vegetable, right? Depending on the vegetable, right? If you're roasting it, sauteing it, whatever have you, there comes a time where if you overdo it, it's going to extract the nutrients.
Right.
So same with coffee. Coffee beans are green. As they're roasted, they're light. And then they're roasted longer, then that caffeine is getting extracted as you are roasting it.
But that makes sense, like the richer the flavor. Yeah, because like you think about like a s'more, right? Like I like mine
I love
black.
A dark chocolate.
Yeah, and so
90%.
I like it needs to be black because I like the smoky flavor, but then it's melted on the inside. The golden is fine, but you can have the golden. Like you can keep that for you. You know what I mean?
And it's so crazy because I didn't think until I tried our Tanzanian coffee, which is a part of our it's a part of our Black History Month sample pack. Oh. And in that sample pack, it's called Grounded. It has a...
That's so cute.
Yes. It has a African espresso blend. It has an Ethiopian coffee, a Ugandan coffee, and a Tanzanian coffee. Now, I didn't like light roast because blonde roasts are typically, it's like a citrusy kind of taste. And I really don't like that.
Yeah.
But the Tanzanian coffee is a fruity, bold, like a bright fruity taste. So that light roast, I was like, this tastes like a wine. Like, I was like, oh, this is good. So it's a light medium roast, and it's so good. I have to tell my wife. I was like, oh my god, I gotta drop this back off. Yes. So yeah, that's the whole, like, there's so much into. So now that you kind of like know a little bit of that front half with coffee, that's why sourcing matters.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Because just like if you poorly source a vegetable, it's going to come with pesticides. It's going to come with all this stuff on it.
Right.
Coffee has that same potential process if it's not ethically sourced. And the beauty with specialty grade coffee, in order to be classified as specialty grade, it has to be graded by the Specialty Coffee Association. So there's they're called Q graders.
Right.
And they grade for aroma, they grade for the size of the beans, like everything has to look alike, because just like, when you cut up vegetables, some are bigger, some are thinner, they cook different. Yeah. Same with coffee. So all the beans have to look exactly the same. They judge for flavor, they judge for the aroma, they judge for bitterness, they judge for all of these things. And it has to meet a score of 80 or above in order to be specialty grade coffee.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like a big deal when you're getting a specialty grade coffee, you're getting that. Sometimes I'm at vendor events and people are like, well, it doesn't taste like it has a lot of caffeine in it. And I was like, well, what does caffeine actually taste like? Because it's not a flavor.
That's so right.
And oh my god, so many. This was like, are we still going? I have so many coffee facts. I know. So I in one of the series the reason why I did the miseducation of coffee is because it's the new year, and we have everyone's on that fitness journey, which is awesome, right? But sometimes 1 + 1 = 2, but sometimes people take out the +1 and then they go to 3 and then they miss the middle. So then you get the mushroom coffee phase, and then you get the, I gotta have this but this, and I'm just like, we are the experts, right, in our fields.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's my job to provide this information so people can be able to, like, everyone's not going to go research this deep.
Right.
So, like, when people are talking about caffeine and things like that, and they're like, well, I like my coffee bold. And I was like, well, a bold roast doesn't mean more caffeine. And also, coffee actually doesn't have that much caffeine, how people think it is. Like, that's why people can drink coffee and go to sleep.
Right.
That's a mental thing.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about caffeine doesn't give you energy.
Oh,
I know. Yeah. So caffeine does not give you energy. Caffeine suppresses the neurotransmitters.
That's right.
That make you tired. Right. So then you don't know you're tired.
Right. And that's why sometimes, like, I was gonna say, like, lately, coffee hit different when I was postpartum because I was exhausted.
Yes.
So it felt like I would drink it and I'd be like, I felt so awake.
Exactly.
Whereas like now my sleep is better, my health is better, my mental. So now when I drink coffee, I'm like, I feel like it doesn't hit the same because I'm not as tired as I used to be.
Exactly. Yeah. So caffeine in and of itself cannot just go in your body and create a whole new energy source. Like, it doesn't. That's not a thing.
Right.
So yeah, it just it suppresses the neurotransmitters that tell your brain that you're tired. So now you don't know that you're tired anymore. And so it's not the caffeine like giving you energy, but on average, coffee has between 65 to like 90 on average milligrams of caffeine.
Right.
The average, like the skinny energy drinks, the Celsius, the Rain energies, has 200 milligrams of caffeine.
Yeah.
So when when people say like, oh, the only way I can have my coffee is if I have like a pound of cream and sugar, and I'm like, well, just don't drink coffee. Go get an energy drink, because if that's what you're really craving, go get an energy drink, because now at least you're not doing the pounds of cream and sugar. Like, you're adding things to, sacrifice your health for something that you don't even like.
I know.
That's like insanity.
I know. Well, we could have a whole other discussion on but the problem of energy drinks too, because of the chemicals and things like that.
Exactly.
Well, listen, to wrap up, because we're clearly going to have you back to talk about more about.
This went so fast. I feel like I just went off on a whole tangent.
This is my entire life. This is like what because I was like, I need to have other people on here because I will go in 1,000 different directions. So this is great because you got to go in 1,000 different directions.
Have me on here 17 times. It's okay. It's around the corner. I would love.
I feel like I need to see like a coffee flight. We need to do that. Like, that would be so cool. Like a coffee
we could do like a coffee tasting, like that Wing show.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that would be so awesome.
Oh my God, we can, and we'll do that here.
Yes.
Because I do drink black coffee. Admittedly, I do have a creamer, but it's the nut pods.
Okay.
The coconut. It's really clean I
am definitely a serving size. Like, when I want creamer, it's a serving size thing for me.
Oh,
because I don't want it to change the flavor of my coffee. Like, maybe I just want a creamer coffee. But have you tried whipped cream?
I have not.
So that's like my new, that's my thing when I'm trying to help people like wean off of like massive amounts of creamer. And also too, like, and that's probably why I like fitness was just very exhausting for me with clients, because everybody wants this drastic thing.
Yeah.
I am very incremental because I believe in sustainability at the end of the day. So no, you're not going to lose 30 pounds in 30 days, but when you lose it, you're not going to gain it back.
Right.
So I tell people, whatever you're doing, just reduce it by a little. Yeah. And then do that week by week. But whipped cream, what I love is when I do want like a little sweetness, because I'm not a sweet girly. Like, when I want a little sweetness, I do a layer of whipped cream. What that does is it keeps my whipped cream at the top. So then when I drink it, it hits my lips. But then it keeps my coffee separate at the bottom. So that coffee comes in and it's still like a good black coffee.
That is so...
Yes. And get a thick whipped cream.
And because like, I will say, my husband and I got into like... well, around the holidays, I feel like we have heavy cream in the house because of like...
Yes, it's something with the holidays. It's like you go, like, I get into like
heavy
all
cream
the creamers
is like, comes with
like
the
that.
holidays. It's just like in your house. And so, and it just whips so nicely. I mean, you know what I mean? So we were like, oh, we're definitely finishing this.
And you can make your own. It's very easy.
Cold foam.
Yes. With and I saw a guy do this. He bought the little like aerosol cans from like Amazon with the little nozzle and he made the whipped cream and poured it in there and then made his own. And it was like half the sugar. But I'm like, whipped cream has like 5 calories anyway.
Well,
so So it's like,
and I never thought about that. I'm gonna have to try that because we're both like, we don't love a lot of sweet in our sugar or in our coffee either. And my like last 2 seconds, sorry, before that's what I was getting ready to say when I was mentioning my husband's lactose intolerant, because he was like, he got tired of, he'll take like the pills or whatever. He was like, I'm not changing my lifestyle. I'm just changing the pills.
I'm gonna just adjust and make it more tolerable.
He was like, I'm not cutting out dairy out of my life. But, you know, and their family was big on lots of milk and sugar. And his father was even pre-diabetic at one point.
Okay.
So I think his mom still does a little bit, but I don't think she does. I don't think her coffee is as sugar and milk forward as it used to be. She still does a little bit, but that's what I did. I was like, I started just like slowly weaning down. And it kind of, I was doing it because like he was already kind of doing it. And I forget how much milk, but it was like, I used to do like 2 spoonfuls of sugar.
I thought you were gonna say milk. I was like, that's not bad.
No, the milk I don't remember. It was kind of like based on like, you know, pour or whatever. But then I was doing milk and 2 spoons, and then I was like, okay, let me see if I can drop it down to 1 spoon.
And that's what I tell like even 1 3/4, and then 1 1/2, and then 1. Like, it's because all you're doing is you're just detoxifying your body, because it's not a matter of what you need, it's really what you're now used to, and it's the habit that you built. So that slow habit that you built, you just have to slowly unbuild that habit. And it works the same way.
I know.
Yes.
I know.
So
I know. Well, listen, thank you so much for being here. We'll absolutely have to do the flight test. That would be so fun. I know. And then, okay, wrap us up one more time. Your website for where people can go to shop and check you out.
All right, so the website is www.metimecoffee.com for the best flavorful specialty grade coffee and mood boosting coffee scented candles.
Ooh, yes.
All customized by me.
I love it.
But yeah,
perfect.
There you go. And to add to that, we're supposed to be wrapping up.
Yeah.
To add to that, we just started a new thing called Sample Pack Sundays. So every first Sunday of the month, we're dropping a sample pack that coincides with the month. So it's limited edition, and in the sample packs, you get 4 sample packs of coffee. Well, 3 to 4, depends on the month. 3 to 4 sample packs of coffee, but our sample packs actually brew up to 4 cups of coffee. So you can circle back around and like, which one did I really like? And the sample packs, we don't always have those in large size bags. So once the sample pack's gone, it's
nice.
gone.
All right. Well, we will, like I said, we'll include all of this information in our show notes. And when the episode goes live, we'll share it all with you. So we'll make sure to have all of that in there. And then what's your handle again on Instagram for people to find you?
Instagram is metimecoffee_co.
Well, cheers. Yes. Thank you, Toni.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Mom Talk Maryland. If you loved it, leave a review, share it with a friend, or tag me at the.columbiamom on Instagram. I'd love to hear what you think. And don't forget to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep showing up, keep supporting local, and keep being the incredible mom, woman, human that you are.